From the Daily Mail, 12 jurors are selected in the Trump trial. Judge says the hush money case now has a full panel as the third day comes to a close. But the funny thing is, first, they still do need 5 alternates, because in the event, and this does happen, that during the trial, somebody has an emergency or, just any kind of disrupting event, they're going to have to drop out. And that's when the alternate gets to come in and share their voice. The alternates have to be on the trial. Like, they have to be there for the full trial, watching everything in the event they are called upon to join the 12 jurors. They don't have that. One of the craziest things that we've seen so far, check this out. Post-millennial, second Trump juror dismissed after it was revealed he was arrested for anti-conservative vandalism. You are not going to convince me that these jurors are fair and honest. It is New York. It is something like 88% anti-Trump or some ridiculous number. These jurors likely are sitting there in the back of their mind saying, I can't wait to get Trump. And they're purposefully saying what they think they need to say to get on that jury, as evidenced by a guy who did not disclose he was arrested for anti-conservative vandalism. As for the other juror, there were 2 jurors who got booted. This nurse goes home and immediately all her friends and family knew who she was. They were like, you're the juror? And she's like, how did you guys know this? And they're like, the media said a woman who lived in this part of town, who was a nurse for this long, all of these things. And instantly they figured out who you were. So she comes in and she goes, I cannot be impartial in this case. They dismiss her. I don't think the issue there was impartiality. I think the issue for her was, and maybe it was impartiality, but the issue was everyone's going to know who she is. Every juror in this case they're going to end up with their own Wikipedia pages. You do not escape the first criminal trial of a former president without landing yourselves in the history books. And I'm really concerned as to what this means for jurors, because I can't remember what trial it was. I don't know if it was Kyle Rittenhouse. Do you guys remember when the journalist stalked the jury? A journalist was waiting in a car for the jurors to get out and go into, like, they get like brought out in secret so you can't see their faces. They get put in a bus, and someone started stalking the jury bus, trying to figure out who they were. Mm-hmm. I feel like in a week, the names of the jurors will be public information. No question. And this is going to be just absolute chaos.
There's one juror that recused himself. Laura Loomer interviewed him today, about 6 hours ago. His name was Mark DeMuro. And he said, you know what? I've got cartoons that I'm like making fun of Trump on my Instagram. And if I stayed, they would have eventually uncovered it. So I'm just telling you now, I'm partial. I can't do this. And so they let him go. And that was like, I think that was an honorable thing for the guy to do. If he's been making fun of Trump online, like to not step in.
But I feel like at this point, it's like, if you're Trump, if you were literally president, that means everybody already knows who you are. They already knew you. So there's no real way to actually have an impartial jury, even if you weren't posting cartoons online and you weren't like a professional pundit or artist. It's like you still probably have a bias about Trump because you think about him outside of the context of the actual trial. Because the goal of the jurors to be unbiased is, I'm just going to go off of what I hear in the courtroom only. Like, I'm not going to have other thoughts on this person. It's like, you can't really do that if you're an American who's been voting or is even remotely plugged into anything going on. It's like, you can't be unbiased, which is why I think this is just going to be a total persecution of Trump taking place in New York. But even if it wasn't in New York, it's like, even at that point, everybody's going to have a view of Trump.
Yep. Mm-hmm. There's not a single person in the world who doesn't know who that man is, except for North Sentinel Island. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they finally land on North Sentinel Island, find the North Sentinelese people who have never had contact with humans before, and there's a statue of Trump on that island.
Those are the guys that throw like spears at helicopters or drones and stuff.
Yeah. I suppose there are other uncontacted tribes in like the Amazon or something.
It's a fascinating point. How do you have an impartial jury when the president of the United States is on trial? Like, everybody.
It's like, for example, if you had a murder trial,
ex-president,
and the guy who's on trial for murder, you tell them like, oh, he had an affair. It's like, you can't do that, because then people are all of a sudden like, their view of him is colored, and they might be like, you know what, you're guilty because I don't like you because you had an affair. It's like, literally just that makes you an impartial juror. So it's like, in this case, people have all kinds of thoughts about Trump. They're like, he was literally president. So everybody knows who he is. He's part of history. And I think the fact, like you were saying about the jurors, they may be followed. I mean, the left is willing to go after our Supreme Court. They're literally going to go out. They're going after justices. So going after jurors who are normal people, that's definitely going to happen.
Yeah, it's a really awful situation, because when you consider the makeup of New Yorkers, I mean, it's not even like that they have thoughts about Trump. Like, they're not even allowed to. Like, they've had thoughts implanted in their brain about Trump since 2015, and those thoughts have just festered there. And I mean, if it's 88% Democrat, you can anticipate what they're going to be.
This is how you get the trial in the first place. I don't understand how you bring a trial against someone with no crime. I can I just make that point again? We made it every single night, but for people who have just crawled out from under their rock, where they were living alongside Patrick Starr, and they have no idea what's going on, the charge against Trump is that there is some secret, undisclosed federal crime for which Trump is being charged, but no one's allowed to know about what it is. What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I just came out from under the rock. What are you talking about?
Welcome.
Falsifying business records is a misdemeanor. Trump has been charged with felony falsifying business records in furtherance of a secondary crime which does not exist. Whoa. So it's like, I love it when cops are like, you're under arrest for resisting arrest. It's like, whoa, hold on. How does that make sense?
Hey, you said, hold on. You proved me right.
But they've done this. There have been people who have been arrested for no other charge other than resisting arrest. And that seems a bit circular, as it were. But I suppose there's some argument about resisting arrest actually means like you were being detained for reasonable suspicion and you refused or something. I don't know, which doesn't seem to make sense. But Donald Trump is being charged because there is some secret undisclosed felony crime no one knows about. And because of that, they can now bring this other secondary additional charge. Like the charge against him of falsifying records, felony falsifying records, is an add-on charge for a secondary crime that now there isn't one. It just, no.
Yeah. I don't think people believe any of it. I mean, at this point, people know that Trump is who he is, and the left is going to find anything that they can. It's like, show me the man, I'll show you the crime. There's not actually any interest in what the crime even is. Or else everyone would be talking about it if there was a real crime.
I think it was Michael Malice. He tweeted that showing up in court is not some 4D chess move that people think it is. Maybe I should actually try and pull up the tweet from Michael Malice. Because he makes a point I think a lot of people... I think it was Michael. Let me make sure it was, and I'll see if I can find his tweet. He makes a point I think a lot of people don't want to recognize. A lot of Trump supporters... Let me see if I can actually find it. I thought I retweeted it. Maybe it wasn't Michael. But he makes this point that a lot of people think Trump going to court is like some 4D chess move where it's going to make him look better. I mentioned maybe his legal team's strategy is make him look like the martyr. But a lot of regular people who have no idea what's going on, who don't watch the news, are just being told Trump is a criminal over and over and over again. So you go to that suburban housewife who has no idea what's going on. It's going to be like, Trump's going to jail? Oh, no. And you're not going to be able to convince some of these people. It's the court of public opinion. Unfortunately, and it shouldn't be this way, many people believe that if you are on trial, you're guilty. Well, you wouldn't be there if you were innocent. And that's the idea they're trying to implant as many people heads as possible.
And it is a disturbing concept because the ethos, one of the underpinnings of the ethos of the United States is you're innocent. Until you're proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt in a court of law, you're innocent.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.